Okay,
Yeah, there you go.
we're recording. Okay, let's go to Joel. Joel, you want to bring us up to date on what the CRs are doing?
Okay, thank you, Teresa. I just wanted to say that the ARS had a well put together CR school this year, and we had a lot of attendees from our district as well as across the United States. And out of that, we got 5 new CRs to our CR program. And that was Ann DeVries, Pei Fung Hurst, Tom Mans, Sharon Ship, and Susan Smith. And several of them's with us today, so good for you guys. I'm glad to have you as new CRs. And I'll bring you up to speed on things that you need to do to keep your audit good. Also, to speak about audits, since 2020 was such a bad year, they decided to extend everybody's audit year by 1 year. So whoever needed an audit in 2021 is now going to be 2022. All the new CRs and everybody that audited this year, their next audit year will be 2025. Also, they are looking at another CR school in early next year. In fact, the dates was going to be in February. So if you know anyone that's looking to become a CR, I know there was several in Indiana Rose Society or Indianapolis Rose Society there. I think Teresa and Eloise and a couple of the others looked at doing it this year, but there was going to be one in February. The date to get signed up for that would be January 23rd. They'd have to have all their paperwork in by the 23rd. And they're going to do one topic per weekend for 4 weeks, as opposed to having a week off in between. They're just going to try to knock it all out in 4 weeks. Also, the ARS is doing some other seminars that will be coming up. I'm sure they'll be sending out notices, and I'll send out notices also. And they're going to start in November. I think November 21st is the first one, and that's on spotted lanternfly. And then January 9th, they're going to do new roses for your garden. March 13th will be the scourge of chili thrips. And then March 27th, they're going to do a modes of action, chemicals, how they work. And you will get a credit for each of those, and the modes of action will be 1 credit for chemical safety. So that
Could you repeat that again, those dates?
Well, I'll send it out also, but the dates, November 21st is spotted lanternfly. January 9th will be new roses for your garden. March 13th, the scourge of chili thrips. And then March 27th is the modes of action, chemicals, how they work. And again, if you audit all 4 of these, that would give you all of your credits you need to audit for, and extend you another 4 years. Other than that, I really don't have a whole lot more. We're going to give the 2020 Outstanding Consulting Rosarian Award later today, so we'll be bringing that up. Is there any questions on any of this? I'm assuming not, so I guess we can go from there. I don't think Teresa is here yet, so I don't think she can give the treasurer's report.
Yes.
She was on earlier, I noticed, but
we'll send that out if we don't have it. We haven't had a lot of activity, so there's not a lot to report there. So
that's what I was going to. Oh, go ahead. I was going to say that's the same thing. You know, we haven't had a lot of chances to actually go out and consult people on roses, so it's just been a very bad year for that. So. But I am, like I said, happy that the ARS has decided to do a lot of webinars or online school.
So I have a question for Mark and Joel. Will the annual reports that we normally do for CR and judging, is that also waived or
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. I will send out a report form. I know you don't have a lot to put on it, but if you did attend any webinars or, done any activities at all, at least I can document it.
Yeah, I would go along with that too. I'll probably send out something. There hasn't really been any activity in rose judging this year, but there are some little tidbits in there that I would like to know about, and I'll be sending out. You can go online, or download your report, and just send it to me early next year sometime.
Thanks, Joel. Mark, did you have anything else you wanted to tell us about?
Yes, I think the CR seminars have really been very successful in my view. And we've had an opportunity to have some really good speakers. And for that reason, Bruce Monroe has managed to get something set up so that you can do your renewal or recertification for your horticultural judging. And as of this moment, they are going to start the webinars on, on October the 17th will be the first one. And it's a Saturday, and there'll be another session on the 24th, the 31st, and the 7th of November. And if you attend all of the seminars, then you will receive 4 hours of credit, and you can be recertified. Honestly, I think this might be the wave of the future. I don't think they have set the topics for the webinars yet, but I think the first one Bruce Monroe is going to do, and it'll be, they made a lot of changes to the disqualification rules. And I'm sure that he will be speaking on that very thing. And there are some other things, reclassification of some of the shrubs. There are a few things here and there. I think Craig Dorschel is going to do a program on, quote, "I didn't realize that," unquote. And apparently it's about something that you do in judging, but you didn't realize you were supposed to do that, or you did that, or something. And the third one is going to be Curtis Allmiller, and he's going to do a program on photography. The last one, they have not determined who the speaker is or what the subject will be. So I look forward to doing that. You can sit at home. You don't have to incur the expense of traveling to a different location in order to get recertified. And there will be some outstanding speakers. And, it's just like, it's not quite the same, but I think it gets the job done really well. Let's see, I know I got something from Ohio to the effect that our president had made a comment to the effect that 2020 is going to be zeroed out in terms of, for instance, if you were required to recertify in 2020, you now have 2021. But I also got the idea that if you had, for instance, became recertified in 2019, you would have had to recertify in 2023. But it's just like 2020 didn't exist. So this means you don't have to recertify in 2024. But I think there will be opportunities for these webinars every year. You can get your 4 hours credit. So I plan to attend, so I'll just extend mine another 4 years. And ARS will put out the information with regard to the webinar. So it'll be coming to you via email. And hopefully everybody will participate and do it the easy way, I think. Let's see, do I have anything else? There have been some, because of all the changes made to the disqualification rules, I would suggest everyone get a new judging guidelines manual. I went on ARS's website and they have not updated the guidelines. I think the last modification on that was 2015. So as soon as I know that they have upgraded the judging guidelines, then I'll let you know. And I suggest that you download them or you request the new guidelines from ARS. I think that's all I have right now. I wish we could have judged more road shows this year, but it just wasn't meant to be. And hopefully we'll be able to get our National Road Show in next year, and we'll take all the roses there.
Yeah. I saw that
Thank you.
Cindy Dale had put on that she was going to a rose show, and maybe in Gwinnett, Georgia, I think now down near Atlanta, they were actually going to have a rose show. I don't know, you know, I'm sure it's socially distancing, but they were actually going to have one. So we'll see how that goes. I think that those who begin to do things, you know, can help teach us how to do things better. So I'm looking forward to a report. I think that's going on today. So Cindy will probably have some things on Facebook about it, but she had tubs and tubs and tubs of roses. So I think
That'll be very interesting. I know someone said there was a virtual road show, but I'm not sure how that would work. But
yeah, she was taking buckets of roses. So I think this one's going to be different, and it's the first one I've heard of. So
Okay.
Thanks, Mark. You know, there are
Okay.
changes, and I know that when I heard Bob say, I think his words were, 2020 will be the year that never was.
Yeah,
Lots of people
basically.
wish that were true, but there have been some good things too. But definitely, it has been so hard to not be able to do the things with the people that we love and the things that we enjoy. Seeing roses on the table, you know, it's just been hard. But we're getting close to the end of the year. Going to check this one off, and maybe 2021 will truly be better.
All right.
Thank you, Jim and Kay.
Yep.
Hello.
There you
We just wanted to say thank you to everyone who filled out your roses in review form. We had 21 people from our district respond this time. So, and in 2-3 weeks, we'll get the data back for our district. And as soon as we get that, we'll get it written up and sent out to everyone. So.
I had one question about the process. I filled mine out, but then I kept getting invited to fill mine out. And so I thought, well, did it take? So I hope that I'm on your list. I did fill it out.
You are.
But I don't know if we need to kind of report that along. These people have already filled theirs out, or if that's a breach of privacy, I don't know. But I kept thinking, oh, do I need to do this again? Because I kept getting their notification to do it. And I know that one time Lucy told us that they don't have any way in their program to take you off. It just goes to everyone, and you just have to assume that you know. But I know that several times I thought, do I need to do it again? So I don't know how we can get around that, or who actually knows who does fill it out. But we're all going to get the same please do this emails, because that's just until it's time. So
Yeah.
but thank you guys for keeping up with all of that.
Oh, no problem.
You know, I think I have a lot of roses until I look at roses in review, and there's so
I
many
know.
on there that I don't have. But it is such a help to the organization at large, is for the people who grow them to comment. So I'm very thankful for our people who did that.
Yeah, we are too. Thank you very much,
Yeah, yeah.
everyone.
Yeah,
A lot of the ones you sold this year were on that list, so that helped.
yeah, I was planning on doing more reports, but I just didn't want to do them because of the damage that we had on the roses this spring from 2 very, very cold mornings. They didn't grow the way they should. And even though they were on the list, I just didn't feel like I could do a report.
Yeah, we had a couple that were the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all were in the same boat. You know, we all had different, I can show you pictures of a tent village that I was pots and tent, and I used everything I possibly could to cover it. Seemed like everything was so vulnerable. But most of the roses fared okay, but boy, not the lilies, you know, not the peonies, you know, so it was hard to see that. And it does make it hard to review, especially if it's a fairly new rose. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, I can't remember. I guess it was in May or was it in early June? It was the coldest night ever. It was in May. It was the coldest night ever in Indianapolis in May. And, I mean, it was 22, 23 degrees. And all the new growth was just absolutely frozen out and killed. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And I essentially pruned my roses 3 times this year. The first one was the normal prune. The next 2 were pruning off some of the stems that were damaged by that cold weather. And some of the roses never made it. I dug up 30 plants that were dead. And there were a lot of them that just struggled and struggled and struggled. And they finally started growing later this summer and into the fall. But it was truly a disaster year for me. But they're growing great now.
Well, we're going to hope for 2021.
Yeah.
So, Bruce and Maggie, are you guys ready?
We are indeed.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. Here we
Thank
go.
you.
Fingers crossed. And let's go to this one.
And then directly to the next slide, please, when you get there.
I just haven't got to come up yet. It's still
Well,
bouncing.
It's also a black slide, so it may already be
I
up
know.
there.
I made my screen black so it wouldn't be distracting, and that's what you're seeing. Okay, here we go. Go to, still get the spinning ball. Slideshow, play from the start.
And give us the next one right away, please, Teresa. Thank you.
There you go.
This is the introduction to Cream City Roses, our hopefully planned for and accomplished ARS National Convention and Rose Show next September, 10th through 14th here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You'll see here, creamcityrose.org is our website, and we'll take you there at the end of this presentation. Next one, please, Teresa. So a little introduction to Milwaukee. Obviously, Milwaukee is all based upon water. Here's a view of our lakefront. You can see the downtown is quite close to the lakefront, and we have a number of museums right at the lakefront and marinas as well. Next one, please, Teresa. And this is our river walk along the Milwaukee River through downtown. Miles of river walk through the downtown area, and nicely developed, nice restaurants along the way. And so this is right in the heart of downtown. Next one, please. We have some fabulous architecture. This is the Milwaukee Art Museum edition done by Santiago Calatrava back about 15 years ago or so. And this is his brise soleil, and from the interior shot at the bottom and the exterior shot. And this is right on the lakefront. The wings close down at 5 o'clock at night, open up at 9 o'clock in the morning. And then if there's high winds, they will close them down again. It's a beautiful space and a remarkable collection at the Art Museum. We're hoping to get a docent-led tour sometime during the convention of art and flowers, especially roses, if they can do it. So we'll look forward to see if that can happen. Next one, please. There's other things to do in Milwaukee. The top left-hand corner is our Mitchell Domes. They are 3 climate-controlled domes, desert, tropical, and seasonal changing, one for exhibition, and a delightful place. And as ARS members, you can get in free. It's a great place to go. Bottom right is Burner Botanical Gardens Rose Garden. Again, as ARS members in the reciprocity program through the American Horticultural Society, there's also free membership and entry for that. Burner is named after Alfred Burner, who was the director of the parks system back in the 1930s, who was the brother of Eugene Burner, Papa Floribunda, who did all the great hybridization for Jackson and Perkins. Our lakefront is beach lined, and it's really a terrific beach. Next one, please. Things to do: a world-class zoo at the top right-hand corner, and always changing and wonderful exhibits there. Great mansions, and this bottom right-hand corner is the Pabst Mansion, Pabst Brewery, and a lovely place that is just the way it was back in the time that the Pabst family lived there. The left-hand side is Discovery World, which is a Great Lakes Museum and Children's Scientific Center. You also see here the Dennis Sullivan, which is a purpose-built Great Lakes schooner done by volunteer groups here in the city, as well as the Native American tribes up in the northern part of the state, donating the lumber for this particular project. And it is a fun experience to go on that. We'll come back to that circular building in a little while when we talk about more things. So we call it Cream City Roses. The question is, why Cream City? It has nothing to do with the dairy state. It has all to do with this cream colored brick that is ubiquitous in Milwaukee and along the LA coast. It's a result of the glacial silt that was left in the lakefront area and the river valleys that was very close to the surface, easily gotten at, and produced into bricks by the hundreds of thousands every year, and shipped all across America, especially after the Chicago fire, as well as over to places in Europe because of the connection with our German heritage. A lot of brick went back there for buildings. It's a very porous brick, but it gives a beautiful look to the city, and that is a very light colored brick. Next one, please. And this is our hotel. Maggie, why don't you take over?
This is the Pfister. It's a historic hotel. It's on the National Register of Historic Places. It has an addition. You'll see that kind of round tower toward the rear of the hotel. It's just beautiful, and as you can see, a lot of it is made out of our Cream City brick. Next slide, please. It has lovely amenities, beautiful rooms. You're going to really enjoy staying at this top flight hotel. There are a number of room choices that you can make for the fee of our conventions, and you also can get the same convention rate 3 days before or 3 days after the convention. So do plan some extra time on your stay so you can see some of our wonderful Milwaukee attractions. Next slide, please. This is the layout of the convention floor. We're going to have this entire floor for our convention exclusively. In the far right, the upper right-hand corner is the main showroom, the grand ballroom. And next to that, down as you kind of take the angle down toward the bottom left, are the prep room spaces that will also be used for the trade show later on after the show. Toward the center is some reception spaces and a bank of elevators to get you to and from your rooms easily. There's also the main registration desk in that center area. Then following down to the left are more meeting spaces. And then the large room at the bottom left is the prep room and also some meeting space areas. And then the silent auction will probably be in that area as well. Next slide, please. This is probably the most beautiful prep room that you will ever work in. This is the Imperial Ballroom, and this will be the site of overflow prep for Saturday for the show. and then for the silent auction as well. And a couple of speakers meetings will be in this room too, and some lunches for the members with speakers. Next.
So here we have a couple of pictures coming up about roses that will be connected to the convention. Jim Spruill hybridized a number of things and allowed us to choose possible roses for the convention. And this is the first introduced Halthemia miniature, and we're going to call it Diane Summers. It will be available to everybody who registers for the convention. And then next slide, please, Teresa. This is the second rose that's associated with the convention. We're going to call it Milwaukee. It kind of reminds me of Sunrise Over the Lake. And very intense at first, and as it opens, it fades a little bit, just like our sun does coming up over the lake. This will be available for if you are coming as a couple. One may wish to get Diane Summers, one may wish to get Milwaukee, so we'll allow those choices. And then this will also be a rose that will be given to the people coming from the public track of the convention. Next slide, please.
We're going to start the convention with photography judging on Friday afternoon. This is a way to hopefully get all of the judges that are coming to judge the show involved in judging photography, and to get this really up and coming part of our rose shows done in a rather time efficient manner. And hopefully that the photography judging can be done so that we can all enjoy the beautiful winners on Saturday. Then also that evening on Friday, we're going to have an opening reception and a talk by Tommy Cairns.
That's in the afternoon.
Yes, in the afternoon on Friday. Next slide, please.
On Saturday, bright and early, showroom and prep rooms open at midnight and go until the show is up and judged. And the show will come down Saturday as well because of the use of space within the hotel on that floor. We'll have to limit it to a one-day show. We are having a public track. We're hopefully going to get Michael Marriott coming in from Austin Roses to do that. And Roger is working on that to make sure that happens. We will have a pest and diseases update panel led by Baldo Viegas, a number of people coming to talk on the various problems of today. And then the awards reception will be that evening.
Next slide, please.
So for the Rose Show, we will have all 18 ARS Horticultural Challenge classes in our show. There not being another national that particular year, we will have everything available. So bring all of your roses and enter. Next one, please. We will also have all 6 ARS Arrangement Challenge classes. So designers, bring them on. We're going to have plenty of space for all your arrangements as well. And finally, next slide, please. We're going to introduce something new to ARS National Show. We're going to have 9 special World Federation Rose Society Horticultural Challenge classes that are unique in their combinations of things and allow exhibitors to do some very interesting things with their roses. So watch for those. The schedule probably will be coming out in January, early February, when we know for sure if all the changes that are proposed are passed by the board at their December meeting. Next slide, please.
On Sunday, we're going to have district breakfasts so that Illinois, Indiana, and North Central District will be able to present their fall awards at these breakfasts for their district members. And so as this will be the district show for the North Central District, and I don't know, Teresa, if you've already decided on this, if this national will be your district fall meeting or not, but we're going to allow you the opportunity to do this. We're also going to have a hybridizers panel discussion, and that's going to be moderated by Jolene Adams. And Steve Singer is taking part, Jim Spruill is taking part.
That's only confirmed ones.
Right. So they're confirmed so far. We're also going to have the first of our 2 garden tours on Sunday afternoon. And we're proposing some workshops. We haven't got final confirmation on that or not. We're hoping possibly to have a ranger's workshop on Sunday afternoon, I believe. And then in the evening, we're going to have Bob Martin's recognition banquet, and we're hoping to have it on the lakefront. Next slide, please. This is Steve Singer's yard, and he's going to be one of 2 gardens that we're going to visit on Sunday afternoon. Many of you know Steve as an amateur hybridizer and the owner of Wisconsin Roses. Next slide, please. And this is Piper Grove Farm. This is the home of Joe and Carrie Bergs. They're members of the Gateway Rose Society, as is Steve Singer, and their gardens are in the south of Milwaukee, both of those. And they have just a beautiful piece of property there and home, and looking forward to welcoming all of the convention participants on Sunday afternoon. Next slide, please. This is the site we're hoping for our banquet on Sunday evening for Bob's installation banquet. This is the reception space of the Discovery World Museum on the lakefront, and this is called the Pilot House, and it just has stunning views of the shore. And as our evening progresses, you will see the lights come on in the city of Milwaukee, and it's an absolutely beautiful site. Next slide, please.
Go to Monday. Here's when our speakers track starts off, and we will have, we'll look at the list later, but there will be 3 speakers that morning for general convention, and then we'll head out in the afternoon for garden tour number 2, and also workshops that are proposed for that afternoon. And following in the evening will be the installation banquet for Diane Summers, as well as the awarding of the Cleveland Medal, the Gold Medal, etc. They are given next year. Next slide, please. So here we're going to look at our second day of garden tour. Can you do it, Teresa, please? Yeah, there we go. We're going to spend time at Will Radler's Rose area. It's Rose Innovations. And some of you may have been here in Milwaukee in 2010 when we did the Mini National and we visited Will's garden. It is basically totally different. It is amazing. We have the opportunity every couple of years to see his garden, and it is just stunning what happens between those years and how his garden is increased. It's just a beautiful, beautiful spot. So we'll spend a number of hours there on that Monday afternoon. Next slide, please. That evening, we'll be in the grand ballroom of the hotel for the installation banquet. It's a lovely space, and we'll have a wonderful time there that evening. Next slide. So here are our convention speakers and panel leaders. We are really pleased to have the work of Andy on our side of arranging what was proposed years ago by Dr. Lou Shu of gathering together all of the Clima Award winners in one location for an event, something like this. So all of our speakers listed here will be presenting with us, and we're hoping to get one more in the bunch, hopefully before convention time. And each of them will be involved in some way with speaking, leading panels, introducing people, etc. And it's a time to gather and honor these really important people to our Rose Society. Next slide, please.
We have a number of volunteer opportunities for all of you as one of the host societies to come to the convention and spend some time giving of your time and talents to help us with various things during the convention. As you can see, there's just a short list here. Some of the things that we need taken care of would be someone to coordinate our vendors. We need a volunteer coordinator. We need someone to help with the silent auction, to coordinate the incoming items and to make the bid sheets and things like that. We also need someone to coordinate the speakers for the speaker track and possibly any goodies or swag bag items that might go to the public. Especially we're looking to have people from the southeastern Wisconsin area, so someone to help with procuring items, gift certificates, and so forth for some of the people in the southeastern Wisconsin area. We're looking for a workshop coordinator, be it for arrangement or CRs or horticultural judges. We also have a need of a show supply coordinator, someone to help wrangle all of those vases and American boxes and things like that. We need help with show setup and takedown, with the registration desk, to be docents at the show tours, and also to help with the convention office. Along with this slide right now, we'd like to thank all of the people from the Illinois-Indiana district who are helping so much to make this convention a success. Linda Kimmel, as you all know her as your regional director, but she's also our registration chair. Teresa Byington, your district director, has been very instrumental in planning for the convention. Teresa Dunham is the treasurer for the convention, and Andy Claus has done a fantastic job arranging for the speakers for the convention.
Next slide, please. So here is our logo again. Teresa, just click on that logo, please. And it will take us to our website. It should work.
There we go.
Yes, yes. Probably take a little bit to load in. Right. So as more information is being finalized, we are adding it to the website, and you can see we're under 350 days to our event. So you will find information there about the tours, about the roadshow eventually. Not everything is populated yet, but we're making progress as things are confirmed. And so keep coming back to the site, see where we are. We're also on Facebook. If you are able to help us out in any of the areas that Maggie indicated we need some volunteer work, we will get a connection point up there for contacts to us that you can then say, yes, I'm willing to help you out with, whatever the case may be. And we look forward to having you work with us, and we look forward to seeing you all here in Milwaukee. We're hoping that with registration and volunteer, there's a relationship there that we will be offering discounts of registration for volunteering your time to the convention. So there's lots to happen in the convention planning yet. We don't know where COVID's going to leave us come September of 2021. So we're planning Plan B opportunities for this national convention. So we'll see how all that works as well. So keep posted. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present information about this, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you might have, either right now or you can get them to us via the Cream City site. And that's it. Thank you, Teresa.
Thanks, guys. That was excellent.
Awesome.
So good. So good. So we really appreciate all that you guys have done. I'm still sharing my screen, but I just want to thank you for all the things that you have done. You and Maggie, Bruce and Maggie, you have just done an excellent job. The website looks great. Everything's so organized. You've represented Milwaukee so beautifully. It makes us all want to be there. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Now, next up, we have Dr. Andy. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
Great.
Let's see.
Let's roll.
Okay, we're bouncing. Let's see if we'll get this one go. There we come. Slideshow. Play from start. Does everybody see the slideshow?
Yes.
Okay, good. So Andy, can you see the slideshow?
I can see it just fine.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, I'm ready to roll along with my helper, there, Sylvester, the cat. As most people know, I'm really a cat person, so we'll go from there. Next slide, please. Okay, the best disease control and pest control is the footsteps of the rosarian in their garden. That was said by me on April 5th, April 12th, 2005 at the Milwaukee Rose Society meeting, and I stole, paraphrased, and modified that statement from Renee Schmitz at Palatine Roses. I will tell you that earlier than that, anybody who knew Bob Woodworth in the 80s used to say all the time, you gotta be in your garden, you gotta look at your roses, you gotta touch your roses, you gotta feel your roses, the thorns under the leaves, etc. It's really a lot of fun, so you ought to do that. Next slide, please. Okay, the unknown from Donald Rumsfeld. As we know, there are known knowns. There are things we know we don't know. That is, we're gonna have thrips, aphids, spider mites, and beetles. They come every year. They seem to feast in all of our gardens. So we know that's gonna happen.
Huh?
We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, there are certain things we do not know. And those are we gonna have midge? Are we gonna have downy mildew? Are we gonna have gall? So we don't know those. But then there are also the unknown unknowns, the ones we don't know. And that examples of that would be rose rosette, jumping worms, and chili thrips, the last two, which are not in our area yet, as far as I know, although they say they've seen some jumping worms in Wisconsin.
Jumping worms are in Chicago.
My wife says jumping worms are in Chicago. All right, good. Next slide, please.
Roses.
This is a list of insects that you're going to see on the next slide. Everyone should have this list with this identification thing and the pictures. You can put this thing on the website if you want. It's from Tommy Cairns back in the 80s. Today, we're going to talk about just two of these on this list. B, the spider mite, and D, the Japanese beetle. Okay, next slide, please. And you can see on there that B is on the upper right and the Japanese beetle is down on the lower right, I believe. Next slide, please. Insects and bugs, part 2. The two we're talking about today on here are aphids and thrips. Next slide, please. And they're right here. One, the thrip is on the upper left, and the, excuse me, yeah, that's right, and the aphid is on the lower left. Okay, next slide. Aphids and thrips. Here you see them described in a picture form. The aphid is kind of a fat little bud, and he tends to be in the upper parts of the bushes. The thrip is noted by its wings and its legs where it crawls around on a lot very quickly within the blooms. And if I could have the next slide. On the right is a really, really good picture of a thrip. There's also one of a mite there, but you can see he's got the wings and all those little crawly legs that he works around on. Now let's get into the next slide. Okay, we're going to talk about aphids first today. Aphids are common in spring. They feed on new plant growth. They physically remove and crush. Well, that's how I get rid of them, is I physically remove and crush them with the fingers. And the chemical control is ORTHENE. Now, we're going to talk about a couple of things here, and we'll just break into this now to talk about that. One of the things that we have in the Consulting Rosarian program is integrated pest management. And years ago, when that came in, Tommy and I and Baldo were talking, and Tommy says, we got to keep it simple, stupid, KISS. And that's the way I felt about it for the last 25 years. Some of the things we did in our program, in the Consulting Rosarian program, scare off new rosarians. So what I prefer to use is what Baldo used in his handout, is non-chemical control. And I think that that is a better term. If you talk to a new rosarian and they're worried about chemicals, they're worried about all this, you tell them you got options. You've got your chemical control, you've got the things like repellents and soaps, and you've got your non-chemical controls. And we'll try to talk a little bit about each one of these today. The non-chemical control for aphids is to physically remove them and crush them with your fingers. Just crush them up real bad. And then what do? Well, you can wipe them on your pants or lick them off. I don't care. Put them on a rag. But that's the best way to go if you want a non-chemical control. Okay, now let's talk a little bit. I'm going to try to talk about aphids, give you a description, describe the damage, and talk about their life cycle. Okay, they're tiny pear-shaped insects, as we saw on that slide, with long antennae, and they're found on the leaves. And the thing about aphids is there's always a few at first. But 2 days or 3 days later, suddenly they're in great abundance. These insects are usually colored in various shades of green or pink, and other colors such as reddish brown, black, or chartreuse. They also can be winged or wingless. And these are known as the vampires of the roses because they suck the sap out of the leaves and the buds, leading to curl distorted leaves. Then what they leave behind is a sticky honeydew, which is excreted by the insects and supports a black growth of black sooty mold. Now, what is the damage that they do? Well, they're also known as plant lice, and they just go after your buds and your new foliage, the soft foliage, the foliage that is there and hasn't hardened off yet. Now, aphids reproduce both sexually and asexually at different points in their life cycle, often bearing live young. And there are some reports of aphids that are sometimes born pregnant. As noted, they have a strong sucking process, which is why we call them the vampires. And the most common variety is the aptly named rose aphid. The last fact we want to talk about aphids is that you may see ants around your bushes sometimes. The ants act as aphid ranchers, moving aphids around like cattle and protecting them from predators. So with that, let's go to the thrips. Okay, thrips, common in the spring and beyond. They feed by the rasping, sucking of petals of light-colored roses. The chemical control is ORTHENE. Now, when you have these thrips, they're about 2 milliliters long. They're really, really tiny. And they have dark bodies like we saw in the previous picture, 4 wings and fringed with hairs. The small size makes the thrips difficult to identify and detect in the garden. So what you have to do is walk your garden and look in your blooms, especially the light-colored and white ones. And they will be there eventually. Now, Bob Woodworth, who always walked around his garden, always planted a row of iris up against his house facing south, on the south side. And we asked him, why do you have those iris? He said, oh, I don't like iris. But you know something? When the thrips go on the iris, then I know I got to look for them and start controlling them in my garden. Smart man. Now, the rose damage characteristics of these thrips is basically infected by the nymphs, afflicted by the nymphs, and adult thrips sucking the plant sap from the leaves, from the underside of the leaf tissue, the peduncle, and the flower bud. The resulting infested bloom then shows damage such as tiny holes or several rows of holes in the outer petals. And eventually, as the bloom attempts to open, it cannot open to maturity in the proper form because it has been robbed of the necessary nutrients and growth regulators that we need to fully develop the open bloom. The process of an egg to adult thrip takes about 2 weeks. However, the greater importance should be placed on the later stage of development. Larvae move down the plant and pupate in the soil, and the process can last from 4 days. So the larvae truck down the old stem, get to the ground. And before winghood is reached, adulthood is reached, the thrip becomes a fully winged mobile insect. Your female thrips live 30 to 45 days and can deposit up to 300 eggs each. Now, that's a lot of thrips, but if you've ever looked in a white bloom that was loaded with thrips and to pick the petals back and see them running around, you can find hundreds. Now, when you're spraying, here's a place where we can chemically control things. The important thing to be concerned with in spraying for thrips, with whatever you use, is you don't have to hose down the whole plant. There are two main areas, probably the upper 6 inches where the petals and of the lower roses are starting to open, and a little bit of that stem, and then more importantly, the ground below in the leaf rubble or whatever's on the ground in your mulch. If you mulch with things like these pecan shells or other things, you're going to have them loaded with thrips. And you've got to be able to spray in there and control them in there. So you don't have to use a lot of spray on the thrips because you're not hosing down a 3-foot bush. You're hosing down just spraying a little bit of it into the bloom and then the ground. The pesticide sprays may have to be repeated up to 5 days apart to kill off the next generation. Remember, if you found them and there's already a lot of thrips and there's already some moving down, you've got another generation on the way. And if you get them both in the larva and in the soil and the upper foliage area, you're going to be in good shape. Some people say it may take as much as 3 sprays. But if you catch them early by watching your stuff, you may be able to nail them in 1 or 2. Some of the other sprays besides ORTHENE that's used are Merit and Maverick. So this is a way to handle it. And if you don't spray a lot of the bush, I think you're going to be saving things for a lot of time. Again, the chemical control for both of these is ORTHENE. Next slide, please. These are what I mean about the aphids on the actual stems. So what you do is you go down there to where the bottom of the slide is and just take 4 fingers, you summon 3 fingers, and just move them gently up the stem. And they'll start accumulating, running up. And when you get them all out, you get up to the bud at the end, just take and mash them all up and mechanically destroy the little critters. Next slide, please. ORTHENE. The reason why we show you this here is that, number one, it's available and it's cheap and it's been around for years. And I want to encourage you to buy this in a can if you're going to buy it. Because we had a lady in the Milwaukee Rose Society years ago that had a bottle of ORTHENE. This is about 1998 or something like that. She was carrying it into the basement for the winter. And for some reason, it slipped out of her hand and smashed. And if any of you ever have known liquid ORTHENE, it really stinks. So she called a few people and they all sent her to me. And we helped her by just tell her to pick up the glass, sop it up with paper towels, and then take alcohol and water and rinse it down and get as much of it out of it as you could. When I talked to her after that, she said it took about 3 days to get the smell out of the basement. But you can buy this in a can. It's much safer and much easier to handle because you're not dealing with that liquid preparing your spray solution. Next slide, please. This is ORTHENE. I don't know if it's around here anymore, but I still have a few cans of it. It's ORTHENE and Triflume, and it really works. This is what I do to mist my blooms in the spring. And it just takes one little, you get it in there. When you first start to see the thrips, maybe 2 or 3 times more during the spring, and they're gone. You don't need a big heavy spray. You need a nice little mist. Let it gently drift down into the bloom. Next slide, please. Okay, let's talk about the dreaded spider mite. I don't know about you, but I had them in my yard this year, but I really got a bad infestation up in the public garden that I take care of in Libertyville. And so you gotta, the rain and stuff help keep them down. There's a lot of chemicals they use for mites. I think we can get by without them for the most part. Next slide, please. Okay, these mites are always located on the underside of the leaves. They suck the sap from the foliage. They give it kind of a brownish yellow hue, and they're also there. It looks like there's yellow speckled areas on the underside of the leaves, and the leaves always appear dirty and bronzed. So if you go into the garden and you see something on top looks dirty and bronzed, start looking on the underside of the leaves. You probably got mites. There's webbing which occurs many times under the leaves. And this year we had a lot of rain in May. And then after July 7th we had about 5 weeks of very hot weather. The heat index was extremely high. And some of the blooms were being distressed in the garden. And what you do then is you got to go out and use a water non-chemical control, a water wand wash. That's hard for me to say. The chemical control is AVID. You can always use that, but if you don't like to do it, I'll tell you one thing, that water wand wash will take care of those spider mites. Maybe not the first time, but I did it 3 times this year. And let's go to the next slide. Please. This is AVID. This is your chemical control. It's been a good one for a long time. I try not to use it unless I have to. This is what was used on the public garden uptown to take care of it because I can't use a water wand uptown. 2 sprayings with AVID and it was under control. Next slide, please. This is the water wand. Please notice that on the right side is where it hooks up to the hose. It's just a wand. And there's an on and off button there. And down on the left side, you see that little silver thing there? Yeah, that is the spray head. It's got an intensely strong spray. These used to be sold in the American Road magazine, and I don't know if they still are. I bought mine in 1981. And so anyway, mine's been around for a good 35 years.
They were the cheapest, the cooler ones, right?
Yeah, they was 10 for 10, but I just got you 4. I got red, orange, and green, and yellow.
Beautiful.
So I got you 2 red.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I mean, 2 green.
It doesn't matter.
I got 6 of 4 of the different colors.
Mm.
I got the old brand crushed tomato, but I got the ragu tomato sauce.
Oh, that's good enough.
And then you got the 6 rows fresh for me.
Did you get the garlic clove?
Yeah, I got 2 of them. 2
Oh, yeah. Oh, good. Beautiful. Thank you.
It's in a can now. You'll see all of them counts.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Anyway, what you do on a nice hot day, which is the best thing to do, is get your swimsuit on and get your sandals. And that's all you're going to need because you're really going to get wet. And you hose down. I've got 90 bushes, and you work from the bottom up and just start hosing them off. And this spray will just take and push the leaves up and push the leaves up. And I did that 3 times this year. It takes 1 to 1.5 hours for my 90 bushes. And I try to get at least a minute per every large bush. Now you got to realize you're in July now, and some of the things like folklore are 4 foot tall, and some of the little floribundas are only 2 feet tall. The minis and mini floras get less than that, but again, you'll really get wet, but it's kind of a nice way to spend a hot afternoon in your rose garden, getting rid of the mites and drowning them as best you can. Next slide, please. Midge. Okay, we've run into some problems here in the north to what Gene Sandberg calls a super midge. Anyway, the midge is a gnat or a fly. It's usually 1 to 2 millimeters in length, which is really, really small. And they breed in water. And we had a very wet spring this year. So I'm surprised that the damp springs bring them out in force. And what this means is if you get a damp spring and a lot, if you're not vigilant, this means no buds for you. And I don't mean the beer. The larvae from the midge, they feed on immature flower buds. And they go after new tender growth. and the flower buds and the leafy tips. They lay eggs inside the flower bud and the sepals and tender growth. So they're laying their eggs there. The larvae that hatch are the ones that do the damage. They're the ones that crawl over there and eat your buds and leaves and distort them. It's a 2-week cycle. So the other thing you want to do, again with the midge, is you don't have to spray the whole bush. What you can do is spray the top and then the ground. But if you want to get them while they're traveling down the stem to the ground, you can spray the whole bush too. Now, here it says diazinon is usually used to control midge. Yeah, I missed that. The buds look burned or scorched. And you can really tell. We'll see it in the next picture. But it was originally used to control midge. Now, some people have a stock of diazinon, and I'm probably the only one here today. If John Pace is listening, I'll bet he has some. But anyway, you can't use it anymore because it's not around. So what we use today is a chemical called cyanura. And when I first heard about cyanura, I thought it was spelled S-A-Y, like it was Japanese for goodbye to the midge. But what cyanura is normally used for, most of all today, is for ants and other bugs in kennels. It's safe for animals because it's used in kennels. I also use it on the basic foundation of the house to keep the ants out. 1 or 2 sprayings in the early spring, no more ants. So you can buy it, and if I could have the next slide, please. That's what the midge looks like. Look at that. Everything looks good except there's a little bit of distortion on the foliage. But look at that bud. It's fried. It looks like it's been in the deep fryer. That's midge damage. And a lot of times you won't even see it because you'll have bud in the evening when you go to bed. And when you come in out in the morning, there's just a stem there with a black spot on there. And the bud is laying on the ground. Next slide, please. Cyanura 9.7. Here's an example of something that I always use so that it helps. I always take my bottles of stuff and put the dosage somewhere on there where I can see it. And in this case, it's 1.5 milliliters per gallon. So we'll talk about some of these chemical safety things in a little bit. Next slide, please. Japanese beetles. Oh, they overwinter in the ground. They emerge in our area here between Flag Day and July 4th. I would assume this might be between June 1st and Flag Day, somewhere in Minneapolis, Louisville area. There is no chemical remedy. None, zero, zip, zilch. Therefore, you have to use non-chemical control. And my favorite control is to get a 20-ounce used plastic beer cup. If you don't have one of those, get a beer, pour it in a 20-ounce cup, and drink the beer, and then add water after that. Add 2 to 3 drops of liquid dish detergent. And then walk around your yard on a nice hot day, because that's what it usually is when they're here on July 4th, and gently knock the beetles off the plant into the cup. What you're doing is giving them swimming lessons. They all fail. Skim the carcasses and throw them away. Now, one of the questions that's always asked, and this is an old slide, is why do they fail their swimming lessons? It's because the beetles breathe through their actual shells. And what happens is the soap forms a skin upon the there, and they can't take into anything to breathe. So that's how we kill them. Next slide. This is from my yard. This is a salad bar for beetles. This can happen if you let it get out of control. And now you probably see why swimming lessons are important for this insect. Next slide, please. They also are foliage consumers. The roses are gone, they'll move right to the foliage. And if you look at the one on the right, it's being worked over by 2 or 3 beetles to get the whole, but if you look to the one on the left, to the right, you'll see it, the whole leaf is skeletonized. That's an ugly sight when you see that in your garden. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a little different, but you should all know about it because it's a problem that probably doesn't happen to you every year. I say about once every 5 years, I find. What you see on this slide are two galls. The biggest one is just at the bud union, right by the tennis ball. And if you go to the right of the big one, on the top there, you'll see a small little brown one up there. That's a root gall. There's only one thing you can do. Well, that's actually two. You can cut the galls off with a sterilized thing and then spray it with shellac or something so that you're kind of sealing it, or Elmer's glue, and throw the gall away. Or you can throw the plant away, period. I have always tried to save the plants because when you got only 90 roses and they're a good plant or something, you want to try to do that. And I'd say I've only been successful at getting a good plant back, or better, half the time. Most of the time, half the time when you do that, the plant usually deteriorates further. Next slide, please. And I know what you're thinking. It takes a lot of gall to go all the way through that. The other thing we should mention here is that gall is one of only 2 bacterial infections that affect roses. The other is hairy root. So anyway, next slide. This one is for the birds. Okay. I want to talk about something here that we always tell the new people, everything like that, is that there's certain things you have to do when you spray. I worked at AVID for 32 years, and I would always go in early in the morning. And after 2000, when I became the curator of the Libertyville Rose Garden, I'd drive by the garden and check on the sprayers on the way in every Monday morning. And they were not allowed to start spraying before 7. And I got there at 7:15, and there's 700 roses. And I said, "You guys are cleaning up? What, are you done?" He says, "Oh yeah, you're not supposed to start before 7. "Oh no, we started right at 7. You sprayed 700 roses in 15 minutes? And I said, "You guys are spraying too fast." And they told me, no. We always spray half fast. And so I was sitting in a meeting with some Jules that morning, thinking about it. And I said, that's a good title for a slide. And what you want to do is take your time spraying if you're going to do it. Do it the first time and do it right. The first thing that people make mistakes is not reading directions. Every time before I spray chemicals, whether it's 1 or even 2, if I mix 2 in thing, I always read the directions for each chemical. Not wearing protective equipment, whether it's your clothes, your old military outfit, your gloves, etc., mask, whatever. Number 3, using less than the required dosages. You can get a buildup of immunity to this stuff if you don't use the dosage. Don't use more, don't use less. Use the required dose every time you do it. Mixing too many chemicals in the tank at one time. I try to use not more than 2 chemicals, and most of the time it's just 1. Not remixing the tank contents several times during application. You gotta mix it. It's got to be a solution that is uniform throughout. Uniformity is important here, and Sylvester backs that up. Next slide, please. Chemical safety. On the left, we have the lovely Mrs. Jennifer Sheldon, and she's in her outfit that she always sprayed with every time she sprayed. And in my opinion, that's a little overboard for protective wear. But evidently they were mixing a lot of different sprays together at that time. Each of you have to go and decide what you're going to do and what you feel comfortable with and where you feel you're safe, okay? Proper sprayer. A lot of people like these sprayers, these big fancy ones, and Mantis and things like that, that throw out a very, very, very fine mist. And I think that's good, and that's good for the people who want to do that. I have a little hose end sprayer because I think it's safer to use that hose end sprayer because it sprays out bigger drops and there's not as much carry from the wind. The proper chemical. If you're spraying for mites, use a mite chemical. You're spraying for black spot, use a black spot chemical, et cetera, et cetera. Follow the directions as we said before. It's for your own good. If you follow those directions, you're less likely to have a problem. And then there's the proper cleanup and disposal. It tells you on the bottle what to do. Is I usually mix it, and if I have some extra, I'll go out and take it and pour it on an old garden hose that I have back there. And the last thing is, if you have pets like we do, you got to keep the pets out of the area during spraying and after spraying until it's safe for the pets to go back in the area. Next slide, please. Okay, safety consideration. Okay, what I'm going to talk about here, and this is one thing that I don't think this is in the Consulting Rosarians manual, but it should be. And I've said this for years, but the last 3-4 years, people haven't listened anyway. We're going to talk about the type of chemical that's here. And we're going to talk about the hazards in the second column. And I know my computer skills aren't that great. And then the third thing is agitation. And the fourth thing will be, which Woodworth was interested in, is there residue on the leaves? So I don't want to wipe it off. Okay. So now, a dust. A dust has a severe agitation, inhalation hazard. And you should agitate it as much as you can, and the answer is yes, there can be a dust that's flowable dust. It's safe. It goes into solution. You got to agitate it, and it can leave the residues. EC is emulsifiable concentrate. Here you got to worry about when you're putting it together, spills and splashes, because it's very, very concentrated. The answer to agitation is yes, and the answer to residues is no. WP is a wettable powder. The biggest problem is when you're putting it into the sprayer. You got to worry about the dust inhalation because it's a wettable powder. Yes, you must agitate it, and yes, it can leave residues on the foliage. Granular. This is applied to the ground. Okay. For the most part, it's a pretty safe product if you've got it. The answer to agitation is you don't agitate it and you don't have residues on the foliage because you're putting it on the ground. SP is a soluble powder. Dust inhalation, again here, is a possibility. But when you get it into solution, you don't have to agitate it. It's all dissolved and in there. And leaves residue. I had no on that, but then somebody came up with one that was, and I had to change that to maybe. Okay, let's go to a water dispersible granule. It's very safe material to put in there. Yes, you will have to agitate it because of gradients that can form, and yes, it may leave residues. Microencapsulated, again, spills and splashes. You're dumping something in there. You need to agitate again here because you got to get it out of that encapsulation, and maybe is the answer for residues. Soluble spills and splashes. A soluble material, which is a liquid. You can have spills and splashes, which what happened to the lady who dropped the ORTHENE bottle, and then no, there's no agitation because it's soluble, and then maybe for the residues. I think this is an important piece of information which helps people. But first, you got to be smart enough to go into and be looking at the chemicals to find out this information on the container. It's on the bottle about what type it is, and then go to this and see how you have to treat it. Next slide, please. This is an example of a damaged rabbit in our old house in Waukegan. Next slide, please. This is the non-chemical pest control, the perpetrator. And he is from Waukegan, the first cat. Next slide, please. This is Gandalf bringing home the bacon. He said he has since passed 2 years ago. And for the last slide, next slide, please. This is Merlin, who for the last 2 years, since Gandalf has been gone, gets the 5 Rabbit Award. He's the first cat we've had to get 5 rabbits in a year. And this year he's got 6 and he's still looking. So if you need non-chemical controls and things like that, think about ways to do it, whether it's water for spider mite, a little kitty cat to help you snuggle and keep the rabbits down, et cetera, et cetera. Merlin and I both thank you for listening to this talk.
Thank you so much, Andy. That was entertaining and very helpful.
Thank you.
So you may have questions. Let's hold them to the end, and then we'll keep going with our program so we're sure we get everything in. And next up is Roger. Roger, are you ready?
I'm ready. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well.
Good.
So Roger's going
Bring
to
me
tell
up.
us what's new for 2021, that date that we're a little more excited about than 2020. Okay. Slideshow, and there you go.
Okay. Thank you. 2021. We have contacted most of the new, most of the rose suppliers, and we've got 4 of them: certified roses, proven winners, Star, and Weeks. And unfortunately, we didn't get anything back from Ping Lim, who apparently now is selling his roses through Jackson Perkins. And to get to Jackson Perkins, you have to go to, who's the people in North Carolina?
I know who you mean, but I don't know who they are.
You know, the people, the seed people that you get seeds.
Oh, Park.
Park Seeds.
Okay.
Park
sorry.
Seeds now owns Jackson Perkins, by the way. And so we were unable to get anything, but it may appear later. But that's what we have is those roses. If you give me the first slide, please. This is, as you can see, Coral Miracle. These are by Certified. This is a salmon pink double blossom. It's a cat's meow on the cousin to the shrub rose star Miracle on the Hudson. The bushy rounded plant is a perfect complement to its velvet red cousin. You can see that? One of the things we did check on these, and they are good in all of our zones that we would normally be interested in. You will find some as we go that are iffy for zone 4. Next slide. This is Pink Miracle, another new one. And this is one where you'll see down in zones it says 5 to 9 pending zone 4. So you people in northern Illinois or Wisconsin, that would be questionable. But it's the flowered pink toned partner of the marvelous Miracle on the Hudson. Deep glossy leaves provide the perfect background for vibrant hot pink semi-double moons. Like its partner, the plant is bushy, full, and beautiful. Well worthy of every landscape. Next one, White Lies. This is also, we're still at Certified. This is a very unique rose. It starts bright white, blushes to red, and finishes maroon. It is disease resistant, hardy, fragrant, and has great habit, shape, and vigor. And it was hybridized by Dr. Pottsmith, who's an amateur hybridizer. He hybridized Dream Come True, which was a double AARS winner in 2008. That's the old All-American Rose Collection, which doesn't exist. But you might also remember, for people who have been with the group a long time, we did have a talk by him when Linda was district director. Next slide. Now we're switching over to proven winners. And one of the things is they didn't give us any details, so I'll give you some of the details on the proven winners. Their rose is Ringo Star. Now, first of all, like the drummer of the Beatles, First of all, the problem is that this is not a new rose this year. It's a new rose in North America, but it's been around since 2014 in Europe, and it's won a whole bunch of awards in Europe, and then was brought over by proven winners to be marketed in the United States. So people in Europe would have this rose available to them. It's a sturdy, light scented shrub, reaches 3 to 4 feet tall and wide, has bright yellow flowers and have brilliant red centers. And it was originally hybridized in 2014 by Chris Warner, who's an English hybridizer. He introduced Sonorita in 2019, and he's done maybe 5 or 6 of the Oh So Easy roses, which are also marketed by proven winners. So they have a relationship with that hybridizer in England. But he's hybridized a whole bunch of roses that we wouldn't recognize because they're only for sale in Europe. But the Oh So Easies are available in some nurseries. Next slide, please. Now this is both a rose pictures and an eye test, because if you can read that chart, you don't need glasses. What? Oh, you have a very good screen. That could be too. But just to tell you what that says, the problem was you get these from like Star, and you can't, the form they send them to you, at least with my technological ability and my wife's technology, we're not able to get that thing blown up much bigger to get it all on. So that's why we left it the way it is. But let me just run down those quickly for you. The big thing is they say mature plants are 18 inches tall, zones 5 to 11. Watch it, 5 to 11. And it's fire engine non-fading red. And this is the first ever miniature developed using the knockout rose criteria. It's made by Midland, and it's a cross between some knockout and sunblaze. You have to know that all of the knockout roses, he is very guarded as to what the parentage is. And unlike a lot of rose people will tell you what the parentage is, Rattler doesn't do that. What? But it's Midland, but they don't know what knockout has. Okay, next one, please. This is Enchanted Peace. Again, picking up some of the things. It grows up to 5 feet high. It's 2 to 3 feet wide. Zone 6 to 11. It's another Midland rose. Milan rose, okay? It's a compact, disease-resistant, bicolor hybrid tea. It's a seedling of Love and Peace with fragrance and better performance, own roots. And they're suggesting it might do well in a container. Yeah. Next one, please. Sitting Pretty. This is by Will Rattler. It's a grandiflora. Has great disease resistant. 3 foot high, 3 to 4 foot high, 3 to 4 foot wide, 4 to 11, so it'll grow at anyone. He says Sitting Pretty is an improved version of Carefree Beauty with better disease resistant and habit. It presents well in a container and is hardy to zone 4. To be used either as a shrub or as a traditional rose in the landscape. But they call it a grandiflora. I still don't understand the difference between grandifloras and hybrid teas. But that's not my problem. The next one, please, Teresa. And the last one we have from Star is Sunset Horizon. That's a floribunda. Very bushy, 3 foot high, 3 foot wide, zones 5 to 11. It's an attractive floribunda rose with flower color that starts bright yellow and fades to deep pink or cherry red. Flower size is quite large when fully open. There's excellent disease resistance for type and is also on its own roots, and it's also from the house of Moab. I got it. Now we'll go over to weeks where you'll see there you got, we were able to, they just sent us the pictures, so we were able to put in the things in a very good thing. The first one is Pink Snowflake. This is a shrub rose, and it brings new meaning to flower power and disease resistant. Each bushy and spreading plant is covered in large clusters of single, medium pink flowers. You might be surprised, I was a little surprised when looking at the Weeks catalog for 2021, that some of these introductions go back all the way to Tom Caruth still, who hasn't been there for, what, 8 years probably? But as they say, it takes 10 years sometimes to bring a rose.
Where'd you go?
Okay, next slide, please. Silver lining.
Okay.
The floribunda rose has clusters of large,
Not too bad. Really?
lavender, well-formed flowers. The gorgeous blooms are set in abundance.
You like
right on
purple roses?
a bushy plant for garden enjoyment.
Maroon better though.
But do you like a dark purple or like this one's a light purple?
That's more lavender.
Lavender. More.
Lavender. Silver lavender.
All right.
The roses best come keep the
Next. This is Playful Happy Trails.
Not any of the new ones. Do it. And then stir the chili while you're in there.
This is the fourth member of the Happy Trails ground cover roses. It's a low spreading, trailing like the rest of the family, but it has medium red flowers with a large yellow eye. If you're familiar, they have a whole series of Happy Trails, and they're all ground cover roses that stay low to the ground and make great borders. Next slide. Perfume Factory. This is on the front cover of the Weeks catalog this year. It is a classically formed magenta blooms saturated with a strong fruity spice fragrance and are produced nonstop. It produces a lot of blooms and has great fragrance. And they say the disease resistance is good. Of course, everybody today is high on disease resistance. Next one, please. This is Fun in the Sun. This is another grandiflora with English-style flowers. Looks a lot like David Austin's. They're gold infused with pink and exude a strong fruit and spice fragrance. And it's another member of their Romance and Elegance collection. Very good disease resistance. Next one, please, Teresa. Golden Opportunity. This is a climber. This is another one that's still from Tom Caruth. It's a vigorous climber. It has long spreading and climbing canes covering spiral, formal, double hybrid tea like gold blooms with moderate fruit and tea fragrance. If you're looking for a climber, this might be something you might want to take a look at buying from your local Emporium, whoever sells Weeks roses. Next one. Painted Porcelain. Elegant spiral, double white splash with pink flowers. Looks as though it was lovingly hand painted. It's a hybrid tea with a cream reverse. And as you can see, good disease resistance. A very interesting look, might do well in exhibition. And the last one we have is Belinda's Blush. This is a sport of the Belinda's Dream rose, which a lot of you are familiar with. Has the same old-fashioned, very double flower form, black spot resistance as its famous family member, except this beauty has been updated with cream flowers flushed with light pink. So it's a sport that came out of Belinda's Dream, and they called it Belinda's Blush. And that was the 17 new roses that you'll see this year. Ping Lim has, I think, 4 that we don't have, and that would kind of be your 20 roses for the new 2021.
Thanks, Roger. That was great.
And I made it in time.
You sure did. Yep. And we'll have a few more, I think, as Ping makes his decision. So
Right.
there'll be a lot to look forward to. I saw lots on there that I thought looked good in my garden. That, I just told Mr. G I cannot have any more climbers. But that gold climber, wasn't that really pretty?
Yep. It's very nice.
Yeah. So let's see, where are we?
Where's Ed? Ed made it.
Oh, good. Hey, I think it's time, where are we? Oh, I think it's time for awards. So, Joel, I'm going to turn that over to you.
All right, well, thank you, Teresa. I do have one question for Roger. The White Wise rose that Certified had, is that a hybrid tea?
That's a good question. And I'm going to tell you that answer. Floribunda.
Floribunda, okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'll go on. All right. We have our Outstanding Consulting Rosarian Award to give today. This person does a lot for his Rose Society there in Sauk Trails. I know he pots up seedling roses and other roses to sell at the markets. He also goes to the Chicago Flower and Garden Show the last several years and represents the American Rose Society and the Consulting Rosarian program. And, you know, I don't have a lot to say. I've talked to him several times over the years, and he's, you know, very knowledgeable. And this year, our award is going to Frank DeVries. So, Frank, I know you're out there. I know you don't have your camera on, but congratulations. I wish we could give this to you in person. And hopefully next year, when we get back together or get back to normal, I think we'll be up there in March. Hopefully we'll be in Sauk Trails in March. And then also another, you know, down here in, I guess, early June for the Rose Show. So like I said, congratulations to you, and also congratulations to your wife for becoming a consulting rosarian.
That's
Thank
just
you very
great.
much.
If you ever talk to Frank, you know how enthusiastic he is, and you know, what a good choice. So congratulations, Frank. Frank, would you like to say anything? Okay, we're going to move on to our next award, and that is going to require my sharing my screen again. And so far, so good.
Teresa, Frank did respond in the chats, thanking everyone.
Oh, good.
And I've lost it. Where'd it go? Thank you. We are both loving working and selling roses. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Well, they're very, very good at it. So well done, guys. Okay, my pleasure is to give out the Silver Medal Award. Let's see. Let's talk a little bit about this award. It's the most prestigious award given at the district level, and it's an award that's considered a Lifetime Achievement Award, and it's only awarded once to an individual. So when I saw the list, a lot of these were new to me, and I thought you might like to see also, well, the award's been given out a lot longer than since 2000, but I thought you'd like to see those who have won this award through the years, so starting with 2000. So Larry Jones in the year 2000, and we just lost him sadly recently. 2001 was John Weaver. 2002, Don and Joan Makes. 2003 was Paul and Jerry Guerno. I think I might be slaying that word, but apologies. 2004, Donald Lee. 2004 also, Marion Pays. 2005 with Milford Klauser. And 2006 was our lovely Linda Kimmel. In 2007 was Jean and Mary Ewalls. And in 2008, Barbara Stausch. 2009, Terry and Judy Richards. 2010, Renee LaFollette. 2011, Carl Babst. 2012, Leo Rimler. Hope I'm saying that one correctly. 2013, Donna Hefner. 2014, Dan Kill. 2015, William Carlson. 2016, Ed Yeason. 2017, Adolf Fairber. 2018, Andy Plaz. And 2019, Mark Nolan. So that's a veritable who's who, and several of those are today. I think we have Ed, and we have Mark, and we have Andy, and we have Linda. I'm not sure who else is with me. I can't see that list right now. But anyway, so this is a who's who's from our district and people who have given so much. So who is the Silver Medal Award winner for 2020? And it is my pleasure to give this award to Roger Bruckman.
Wow.
So everybody unmute yourself. You can congratulate Roger. But I want to tell you a bit about some of the things that Roger has done. His service to the ARS began in 2007, where he served as vice chairman of the ARS National Convention in St. Louis. So he got started out with a bang. Roger has served on the board of directors in several positions at the local level, and he has served as chairman of numerous row shows. From 2013 to 15, he served as vice director of the Illinois-Indiana District, and from 2015 to 2018, he served as Illinois-Indiana District Director. He currently serves as American Rose Society Regional Director. Congratulations, Roger, on a well-deserved honor.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So, Roger.
Congratulations, Roger.
Yeah. So it's a
I'm
great
overboard.
time to clap, use your reaction button, whatever. So sorry that we can't give it to you in person, but I do have it, and I'll give it back. I'll send it to you. But it is beautiful.
We'll see each other somewhere.
Well, we will trust the mail, maybe. So, but it is beautiful, and so happy for you. Well deserved, Roger. So did everybody figure out the reaction button? You can give applause, give a thumbs up, hit your button. Let's see some action. Yay!
There we go.
You can do it. Let's see, who else found the button? Who found the button? Down there, right in the bottom. So,
You did. There's it. Hi, Ed.
Hi, Roger. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So this would all be so much better. We sort of had a whirlwind of talk and trying to get to see each other, but virtual is better than nothing. And so I have a few things I want to say to you as we finish up. Thanks for coming. And I want you to make you aware that the ARS triennial elections are coming up. You're going to be hearing a lot about that, probably via email from ARS and in the magazine and all the resources that we have from them. And I want to take this time also to tell those of you who don't already know, is I've decided not to seek a second term as district director. I have loved it, and I have loved getting to know all of you better. But as many of you know, my heart is in England, and I consider myself a flight risk. The moment that I get to go, I will. And so I intend to spend as much time with my grandchildren as I possibly can. And so my decision is not to seek a second term. But just look at this screen. There's so much talent in our group. And I hope that each of you will take the opportunity to think about this. And maybe it's your time to serve the district. And if you do want to do that, just contact me through email and we can talk about it. And you can work through that decision. Take as long as you need, but we'll be releasing something out in the next few weeks. And as we hear from people, and I have all the information, so you don't have to go digging for it. I can provide that for you. So do consider it. Now, we do have some time. So if you had questions for any of our speakers, jump in there, and I guess you can raise your hand. Let's see how we do this. Just hop in there. There's not so many of us that we can't hop in there. Some of you are muted, and I will unmute you so that you can talk. Maybe if you've muted yourself, I might not be able to unmute you. So jump in there if you have questions or comments about today or questions for our speaker.
I'd like to go ahead and ask Andy Plass one question. We were wondering, what are jumping worms?
They're a new discovery. What happens is they come out and they, on the top, they jump around, etc. And from what I've heard, where they're coming from is in potted material shipped in from other parts of the country. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm really reluctant to buy a potted rose in a store sent by somebody from California already potted up.
They're very large and they destroy the soil.
Right, that's my wife. They're very large and they destroy the soil. And they eat the nutrients in it and just destroy it. And it's a new thing. They are up in Wisconsin and I guess in Chicago. And next year, in 2021, we're hoping to get somebody at the National Convention who can give a talk on jumping worms. Because this is the kind of thing, by the way they spread, you know, something coming in and potted, whatever it is, geranium or this, that, or the other thing, it could be a big problem. So we've got to figure it out. And it's new, and it's like one of those things in the Rumsfeld's thing, you know, it's what you know, you don't know, you know, and that occurred this year, and we're going to look at that.
You can't tell by looking at the dirt because it could have eggs in it.
Yeah, and you can't, my wife says you can't tell by looking at the dirt when you're buying it because the eggs could be in there. So, you know, we just have to roll along with it. We need a whole lot more information, and hopefully I'll be able to get somebody which would be able to talk about it at the National Convention next year. But you're better off buying your roses bare root.
Andy, what do you think about if we bought something potted and then we took all the dirt off, and can you rinse them away? Could you rinse away the eggs, that kind of thing, if something comes to you potted?
I don't know. I don't know if you could rinse it away. You might rinse the eggs into the water supply, which would spread it around. I think there has to be a way. They have to find out what to do about it and how to control it, which we don't know yet because it's so new. But as topics come along, et cetera, more information is available, I hope to have, like I say, have somebody at the National. And who knows, I mean, even we can get a hold of somebody even sooner, we can get more information. But it is a problem.
That's just what we needed, something new.
Right.
Andy, there was a question on chat that I didn't know how to answer, Frank. He wanted to know if you could use chloridane from Midge.
He still got some. That group in Sauk Trail has a lot. I don't know the answer if it's good for Midge, but I know it's good for a lot of other things. I'd have to read the package label. It should say somewhere on that little book that folds out, but geez, I haven't seen a bottle of chloridane for 20 years. I don't know the answer to that.
Hey, Andy,
Yes.
I still have about 10 bags of diazinon.
Well, you may be in for a big income coming up here. People buy it from.
And I'm wondering, what's the dosage that you would use for midge, placing it, in the ground,
Well, you use it as a drench, a soil drench.
Is that right?
And I can't remember, but I was just getting rid of a lot of my old papers and everything. And I remember Paula Ballin wrote an article on that, either for the Illinois, Indiana newsletter or for the Northeastern newsletter. And if I can find anything on it, I'll be glad to send it to somebody and we can put that on the website. But I haven't had diazinon for years, but I will look into it. And
well, when they took it off the market, one of the people in our Rose Society bought a pallet, a pallet of diazinon. And fortunately, he shares that with me. So I still have some.
I'll try to find out for you what that is.
Okay,
It's got to be somewhere.
Okay, I'd appreciate it if you could send me how she does that.
Yeah.
What I usually do is just spread it out on the ground and water it in. Now I don't.
That'll work too. That'll work too.
Yeah, that's what I usually do. And I have a little bit of midge now, and not much, but I'm thinking about putting on some this fall.
Oh, that won't hurt.
That won't hurt.
If you have it active now, you want to get rid of those nymphs and those bugs and those eggs in the soil, because you're going to prune most of that, what's on the bush, away, either in the fall before you winterize or next spring.
Yeah.
But soil, the ones in the soil are your enemy for next year.
Yes, and I would like to do it now because I use mulch for winter protection.
Yeah.
And in the spring, I spread it out. So
yeah,
I would like, right now, most of the mulch is, it's in the soil now for the most part. And I would like to put it on now since I know it will go into the soil and not lay it on top of the mulch.
Yeah. That's a really good idea.
Yeah. Thank you.
And you'd use up some of those, however many bags. You might make a lot of friends by selling that too.
Now, I figure I have enough to last me until I'm too old to grow roses.
Yeah, I hear you.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah. Hello.
There's a question on the chat for Roger. I don't know, whenever Andy's finished.
What is the question?
The question is, on the Golden Opportunity climbing rose, will it have roses on all levels of the limb or only on the tips?
If you bend the canes over and stress them, you will get roses to come off of them off of the canes and not just at the ends. Did you get that?
It was, yes, she says, it's Arla, and she said thank you.
Oh, okay. Good.
Hey, Teresa, for those interested in the Asian jumping worm, there's a YouTube video put on by the Oregon State University Extension Service. Let me see, Dr. Sam Chan. It's about an hour-long video on the worm. And they look basically like a night crawler, but there's a little bit of difference in them.
Thanks for that. So YouTube comes in for us again. I love it that people are putting all of their stuff in one place. You know, lots and lots of good information on YouTube. Lots of bad too, I'm sure, but I'm glad that's there. Any other comments? Anything else on the chat, Linda?
Now, Frank just said that the jumping worm was extremely destructive,
Right.
and there's no control agent. So that was the only other thing that I see. Thank you, everybody. Enjoyed this a lot.
Hey, Linda, Laura Spelbring was asking about if any of the roses that Roger showed today, are they available?
They will be they'll be available. We'll have some of them from, next year, in April or May. They come in February. I don't think they're available now from anybody, but next spring they would be, yes. We'd have them, for example.
They tell us when they're going to be released, but they don't tell us whether or not we're going to have them in our areas. So we might have to do a little investigation to find out who has them.
Well, I think they're harvesting yet. They just don't know how many of each they have until they get their numbers out of the field, graded and counted.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely correct, because we send our orders in the spring of 2020 for 21, and they acknowledge the order, and then, maybe if you're a huge guy, you get everything you ordered. But us smaller people, we open the box up and say, gee, did we get everything?
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes you don't get everything just because they either ran out, or when they went out to the field, they thought they had X amount and they only had Y amount, and Y is a lot lower than X. It happens. But you're absolutely right, Andy.
Well, last call for questions. We have about 6 minutes left. This is great. We finished up. It's kind of a whirlwind, but we finished up on time. Thank you so much to the presenters. So big congratulations for the winners, Roger, and just so happy for you. Well deserved. Well deserved. Guys, I guess you'll see us on email till we meet again. Stay well, stay safe.
All right, we'll see you. Enjoy
All
it
right.
very much.
We'll see you.
Thanks, Teresa.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.